What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. With the release of Disney Lorcana's newest expansion, Reign of Jafar, players like you and me are now eager and ready to go play in events of all sizes, all the way from locals to case tournaments and even some big prize pools happening over the summer. So the question then is, what is currently in my deck box? I run around with this double-decker deck box, which is great because it's portable and it allows me to take two decks to locals and then compare those lists with other players. Typically, I have two different types of decks with me. One is normally a deck I found online, whether that be from other creators or just floating around on the Discords. And then the other one is going to be usually like a homebrew that I'm working on and testing with a lot. So now with this new set, what are the two decks that I actually have in here? First, let's show off this deck that I borrowed from another creator, and that's going to be the list here from Lorcana Deck Lists. As an avid listener to the Articast podcast with Artabax and LD, I picked this deck up and instantly was a huge fan. Any deck that lets me play with my Robin Hood Sharpshooter Enchanted is an instant +1 for me. This deck utilizes the new Undermine and Chip card to give red-green discard even more tools than before, and it's just a blast to play. Now, don't get me wrong, this deck is still very susceptible to things like Brawl and Sisu, but if you can get this thing rolling, it's a blast. Alright, and now on to deck number 2, the homebrew I've been working on. Now, I know it's green steel, but this is not green steel Muse's discard, it's really different. And if you've been following the channel for a couple sets now, you know I've tried so many times to create a good green steel pirates deck, and this time I think with the new Captain Hook Pirate King and a new action to actually refill your hand, I think it gets a lot closer to be something that's actually really playable. So let's start off with the new stuff. We've got 4 copies of Captain Hook, the Pirate King. This card gives your pirate characters +2 strength and resist 2 on your turn if you damage an opposing character first, turning your other pirates into massive hitters, and you can easily turn your 1-drop hooks and your smees into serious threats to anything that turns sideways. The next card we're using is going to be the new Desperate Plan, and we use this to both draw cards from an empty hand, as well as we can also use it to sculpt a hand if we bricked, or if we really need an answer and we have a big enough hand, we can go searching for specific cards. And then finally, the last new card from this new set that we're testing is the new Maui Stubborn Trickster. The biggest weakness to this deck in my initial testing was the Sisu Coil item decks, as we just have no way to interact with those items. But this Maui actually allows us to not only have a big quester on the board that our opponent needs to answer, but when he gets banished, we have options for what ability we want to choose. We can either destroy all items, all locations, or we can get a free grab your sword, which is kind of insane. I've also tried using the 1-drop Pete in the past for item removal, but he ends up just being ink if we don't play against items. And then also he's pretty useless if you don't have an accompanying pure action in your hand, whereas Maui is a threat while in play, and also when he's being removed against any deck. Quickly now, let's go over the rest of the deck. We've got standard green steel staples like your Diablos, Ursulas, and Pete. We also have a ton of Floodborn characters, so we have to have 4 copies of Morph in here. And then for card draw, we actually have multiple options with Diablo, Beast, and Clarabelle. So based on what matchup we're in, we can actually mulligan for whatever card draw is going to be best in that scenario. And then for actions, I have a decent number of early song removal ones, as well as the grab your sword for if we're going up against aggro or if we're going up against Prince John. And then finally, I run Baboom, literally just as a way to stall out the mirror from shifting into a Diablo. It can't be removed with Ursula, so as long as we have cards in hand to deal with any discard coming our way, it literally just sits in the hand and it prevents the bird from coming down. What do you guys think of this deck list? It's been really fun to play, and it offers a lot of great options into a lot of the matchups that I'm currently seeing online. All right, so we've got the deck loaded up now on Tabletop Simulator. I'm going to be playing both sides of the table. I've got the Pirate deck on the Donald side, and then on the Stitch side, I have an Amber Steel song list with the new Rhino card that is really popular. I think this is just a good representation of what you could find at locals, with Steel being really popular. Now, since I'm playing both sides, it's not going to be a true representation for what a game's going to look like, because I'm going to know both hands, but I'll try and make the best play with the current knowledge available, and I'll talk through it, just so you have some guidance for it too. So let's go on to the opening hand. And what I like here is not only do we get the 3-drop Diablo and a morph, we also have some other options, like we can hold the boom in hand, giving us a nice turn 2 kind of counter if they drop that Cinderella, or if they drop a turn 1 Rhino and we think the shift is coming. I would like to draw into the 1-drop Diablo just so we can see what they have, but we don't have that right now. And if we need to, Baboom's inkable. So let's go ahead, and you actually have to put them down there. We'll send those back. Cool. And we actually hit a 1-drop in the Captain Hook, and we can go Captain Hook, morph into Beast, turn the card draw online, which is really good. All right, and then for them, let's go ahead and reset their deck, draw opening hand. All right, so no, unfortunately for them, no Rhino. They get the Rhino shift, which is going to be really good, but I think I'm sending everything else back here. Trying to get a 1-drop is really important in their deck list. Same thing with some early songs, and then just keeping Rhino. He's ink if you don't hit the 1-drop Rhino, and if not, he's also a really good turn 4 play. So we'll put, oh, I did that wrong. Let's do that again. We'll just makeshift this. We'll shuffle. We'll look at the top 5 and we'll bring them in. Whoopsie there. Cool, so still no 1-drop, so they're probably not too happy about that, but they do have at least one more card coming. It would shuffle after this, and then, cool. So let's go back to our play. We get the turn 1 Captain Hook, probably inking the Clarabelle in this case, getting the hook on the board, and then just passing. For them, they're going to draw into another Troubadour. Unfortunately, they don't need 3 of them, and they don't have a turn 1 play, so they just pass after that. Back to us, we'll draw a card. A Pete, love that on steel, especially against this. Know for a fact the morph is going to be coming down next, so unfortunately we do have to ink that Baboom. We'll get the morph out, and with nothing on the board, Captain Hook's free to quest for 1. Pass it back over. They will draw another Troubadour, so they've now got all 4 in their deck. Another one into the Inkwell, 1 into play, so they can sing their Storm next turn. And then we'll reset. Draw a card off the top. We get another Diablo in this case. Unfortunately, we don't have good inkables. So what I'd probably end up doing here, since they now have a singer on board, I'd probably go ahead, ink the Beast, play the Pete, and we like to play him upside down, so we know he's in effect this turn. And then probably discard our action to shift the Diablo, and then we'll just quest in. Probably with both of them. I'm not really worried about their Troubadour attacking in this case. And then pass, and we'll draw with them. And good thing for us, we got that Pete out because we just drew into the Space Pirate Pete. So we'll do their draw. In this case, Troubadour is 100% taking out the Diablo. So we'll draw a card for our Steel Song player, draw a card for us, switch back. And then on 3 ink, we need some songs in play to start dealing with the board. Actually, made a mistake here. They can't play it because of Pete. So happens to all of us. I even put it upside down for that reason. So we can flip this, put it back on top. What did they get? They got an aerial that would go back on top. So in that case, I think we're honestly inking and getting out Lawrence to try and draw cards next turn. They'll be able to take out the Diablo with the Storm so that you don't draw off the Rapunzel. And then if the Pete turns sideways, I'm thinking that's an easy way for us to draw cards with Lawrence. So sorry about that. Let's go back to us here. We know it's going to be a morph, which is totally fine. We'll ready everybody. Yeah, I don't think he's doing anything here either, because Captain Hook has a lot of strength, and you can combo both of them to take out Troubadour. So that's why he stays ready. We'll ink the morph here. 100% going to be shifting the Pete so that they can't sing songs, and our Captain Hook gets a little bit of resist. And then we are questing for 3. Captain Hook's going to stay at the ready. We don't want to put any damage onto their Lawrence, so they're either going to have to find another way to get around it or see what happens. And then we'll draw with their draw. Love that we get a strength. They're going to draw what's going to be the aerial. Turn 4, they need to get high damage onto the board. And they don't have anything that's going to survive what I have on the board, except like if I turn the Captain Hook. They can't sing the Storm, but they also don't have a play if they do Storm plus another card. But I think they'd want to be shutting down the card draw. So they would be doing Storm, getting rid of Diablo. Now we'll go ahead, take that card for that. And that was 3 ink. Probably inking, in this case, maybe the Bianca. Because next turn they could do Aerial plus Troubadour for 5. Get an extra song. They could sing it with what's on board. Oh, forgot to get rid of the morph that was under him. Okay, so with that, I think at this point they're just hoping for a strength that they can play off the top and get a bunch of characters down. So if they do 2 characters next with a strength, they could probably take out that Pete and start to try and come back into the game. I don't think they're turning anything at this point. We'll ready up. Come on, grab the stack. We'll go 1 off the top. It's a Smee. Okay. So probably going to ink a Clarabelle in this case. We can get 4 characters on board. We can sing strength onto the Lawrence. Yeah, we're emptying out our hand, but I think we're happy to get that Quester and that Rapunzel target off the board. And now, since the board's clear, we go ahead, we turn the hook, get another lore. And then we can start hoping to claw back some cards with the Diablo in play now. They'll draw 1. It's a small Rhino. I'm gonna reset this. And then we can do 3 for a aerial. Look at the top 4. Whiff on our songs. And now singing isn't looking too good for us. So at this point, probably inking the Troubadour, getting a Rhino out in play to shift on the next turn. So we can do shift, 2, and then Rapunzel or Ariel. Hopefully they can pull a song so they can start singing and getting some of this board back. Yeah, that's pretty much their only hope of getting back into this game at this point. For us, though, we're going to draw. We get another Pete. So the songs are not looking good for them. We then go ahead, quest for 5. We'll draw a card when we pass. Same thing, I don't need to quest with Hook. Let's see if it would matter though. 5, 6, 7. So we go to, so in this case, just to put clock on the board, probably get it to 13. They can't use any actions this turn, so they're gonna have to trade into this Hook or Smee. Like, they have much better targets. And now he also has resist with Pete turning sideways, which is very nice. We drew because Diablo, when they draw, It's a Naveen. Still no songs though, and they couldn't play them if they wanted to. So first thing that they would 100% do is get this Rhino out. Rhino has resist 2 until he takes damage, which means, see, still getting this Pete off the board is just almost impossible because you're doing 3 with the Rhino, 1 with the Aerial, and none with the Troubadour. I think you're taking out the SME since the math just works out right, and you will only take 1 back with the Rhino. And then unfortunately the other ones I don't see a play for them. Maybe you ink the Aerial and you heal your Rhino. So now he has resist again. You draw 1 off of that, pull another Aerial. So delayed game by a turn because now lethal isn't on the board anymore. But it's looking really rough for them. Should draw 1 off of the Rapunzel Rhino heal, and then 1 for turn. And this is just brutal. We could just go for 5, even if the board, whoops, gets cleared. I think we drop this Clarabelle and we're looking good. In terms of what they have on the board, I don't think I'm scared of the Rhino. I mean, honestly, a strength can come down. At this point, I think it's just quest for 6, and you got to have some way to clear the board. Yep, we'll draw for the Exerted Diablo. It's an Ursula. Yep, they'll draw for turn. It's a small Rhino. Reset. They got to look for something here with the Aerial. They get a Storm, which is fine. You're probably singing that with Troubadour. On to Diablo. Sure, you give up a card, but you at least get a card. And they hit the Strength finally. We hit a Grab Your Sword. So now they have a Strength. They've got 5 on board. Oh, you can't sing. You actually have to, I forgot, because of Pete. You have to actually pay 3 for Strength. And maybe instead of Diablo, you got to put it on to Pete. So he gets 1 damage, 3 damage, 5 damage. And then you get rid of these cards to clear the Pete to be able to sing the Strength with Troubadour on Diablo. And still, like, you just play this Aerial. Yeah, and that's there's no coming back from that. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good example of how this deck plays out. Didn't even need to get the Clarabelle out. Didn't need to use things like Grab Your Sword. Do we have, where are those Captain Hooks? The Maui's here in this matchup, probably not that useful. How deep was the Captain Hook? There we go. So like we didn't even get to shift this Captain Hook and turn our pirates into like rocket ships, but very strong control deck. If you can get the proper draw tool in play against the matchup, I think you're in a really good spot, and that's why I like having all those different options in here. Finally, there's also one other deck box that I have sitting on my desk. Now, this one isn't complete yet, but I'm going to share the deck list with you guys anyway. Now, last set, I found a great bodyguard-based blue-yellow that had a lot of great matchups into all the steel that was going around because we used the Cogsworth to give everything resist. And now with the new Ludwig von Drake card, it actually is looking pretty spicy once we fully iron out the list. Stay tuned on the channel for more on this list. I'm definitely going to be updating this as the set goes on. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Thank you guys for watching till the end of the video. Your support has been amazing, even if I've been a little busy with the toddler to make as many videos as I would like to make. As always, have a great time this week at your locals. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.